This podcast is sponsored by FortuneFavours.ie. FortuneFavours.ie is a home workout equipment store and your one-stop shop for all home gym equipment. They are well known for their adjustable dumbbells, which combine 15 different weights in one dumbbell. They have both 24 kg and 40 kg adjustable dumbbells. Check the link in the bio of this episode for more information. So you're all very welcome along to yet another episode of the Gaelic Statsman podcast, and I hope you're all keeping wonderfully well. My name is Matt Hurley, and today we're previewing another weekend of Allianz League action, another weekend where football and hurling intertwines, and delighted to be joined again by Seamus Brady from Play On GA to discuss this weekend's action. We'll start in this video and podcast about football, and we'll do hurling in the next video. Before we get started, this podcast is sponsored by FortuneFavours.ie. Use the code STATSMAN11, all in caps, to get 11% off the best home gym equipment around. So, how are you keeping, Seamus? Like, I know Dublin Cork kind of gave you nerves on Sunday, 2-point win on Parky Keefe, but we're back to Allianz League action this weekend. Dublin up against Clare, and in hurling they're in action as well. So, another weekend to look forward to.
Yeah, no doubt, Matthew. Thanks for being a host again. This is the stage of the league where it's taking shape now. We know who's going for what. We know who's looking at relegation. We know who's looking at promotion, who's looking for league titles, etc. So it's very interesting to see now, because the games have taken on a significance that they didn't necessarily have before. Teams that now are playing off against each other in a relegation battle. Like, you look at Division 3, Longford, Tipperary, that's the main one that, in my mind, loser goes down. So the games have taken on more significance as the league has gone on. And yeah, looking forward to it. Double header for me as a Dublin fan in Croke Park on Saturday night. Obviously, the hurlers going up against Tip, and then the footballers going up against Clare. Should be very interesting, both of those games. And just all around looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So, and definitely looking forward to the fixtures, all right. And we'll start off in Division 1 like we always do on the podcast, and starting off with a main game actually on RT2, Kerry against Armagh on at 5 o'clock in, I think it is, Austin Stark Park, Tralee. It's not in Kildare, it is in Tralee on RT2. So, big enough game for either of these two sides. Kerry on 2 points after out of a possible 6, 3 games played, 2 losses. And Armagh having that disappointing loss against Roscommon. It feels like both of these two teams were touted to be in the league final at the start of the year, arguably by many people, including myself. But it's a crucial game, it turns out, for this, because the winner, I think, has definitely seen survival, more or less.
Yeah, I was a little bit so far a bit disappointed by Armagh. I thought that they would be definite contenders for the league. Obviously, they've had a very mixed bag, a win, a draw, and a defeat. Kerry, on the flip side, have looked weird as well. I mean, losing to Donegal wasn't the best performance at all from them. Then beating Monaghan in the way they did. The first half against Mayo, they were abject. And then David Clifford and Sean O'Shea come in, and all of a sudden they click into the gear and they look really, really good. So it's hard to know where Kerry are at. It's hard to know where Armagh are at. And however, one thing that we can say is Kerry turned the corner in that second half against Mayo. Once O'Shea and Clifford came on, all of a sudden they were moving the ball better. They were more efficient with their attacking. Armagh don't have anybody to come back in like Kerry had to come back in. Armagh are pretty much at full strength and have been since the start of the league. And that's why I think that the fact that they have to go away to Kerry in Austin Stack Park in Tralee, it's really bad timing for Armagh, honestly, to have to face this Kerry team, because if they could play them without O'Shea and without David Clifford, maybe they'd have way more of a chance than surely both of them are going to start this game.
It's a weird one with Armagh because their forwards seem to be, not as good as usual. Like Jace Duffy, in fairness to them, scored 4 points and 100% accuracy, in fairness to them, against Roscommon. But the likes of Rian O'Neill, Stephen Campbell, Aidan Nugent, I don't think was playing in the game, or he was anonymous in the game. Tyrone Kelly didn't play well. So it was a weird one with Armagh. Usually their forwards are lightning quick and they're excellent in front of goal. But against Roscommon, they kind of start to lose the golden touch.
Yeah, Roscommon, what was definitely worrying for Armagh against Roscommon was when the game was there to be won, Roscommon showed the grit. Armagh didn't. Roscommon had the bit between their teeth. Roscommon were willing to go the extra mile to get the points. Then Armagh. And honestly, I thought Armagh would go for the league because McGeeney's been there since 2015. They haven't even made an Ulster final. They haven't got further than the All-Ireland quarter-final. And yes, while we are saying Armagh have got better and better under McGeeney, eventually they're going to hit their peak. And I don't think that their peak with this team is actually too far away. I really don't. I think like it's either this year or it's coming in the next 2 years. And for Armagh fans, they would definitely hope that it wasn't last year. Because I do think, look, if they had a beaten Galway in the penalty shootout, I would have backed them to beat Derry in the semi-final, just looking at how easily Galway put them away. And then in the final, they would have given Kerry a right crack. That is definitely something that Armagh fans won't want to think about, the possibility that maybe is that as good as it's going to get under McGeeney, because in this Division 1 campaign, definitely, and Aaron said this, big shout out to him, was the element of surprise with that. And they blew Dublin away. And now all of a sudden, everybody sat up and took notice of Armagh and go, okay, Rian O'Neill is one of the best forwards in the country. Jason Duffy, Aidan Nugent, they've got serious strength and depth there. And all of a sudden, that element of surprise that Armagh had is gone. And now it's down to actually just how good are you? And that's why for this game, it's massively important because that Kerry are not going to take them lightly. So we will see just how Armagh can match up to these top teams in this game. And we are going to see how serious are they as contenders. Because right now I put them at dark horses for the All-Ireland, but I wouldn't put them as one of the top contenders.
Probably put them the same way as well. Like, you thought they'd make a real push for the All-Ireland this year, but we'll have to see in the next few weeks. And well, Kerry, it's a weird one. Like, they performed very, very poorly in the first half against Mayo. Mayo outplayed them in a way. But then Clifford and O'Shea started to come on. Barry O'Sullivan did well in the square, almost like a Kieran Donaghy player scoring that goal against Mayo the other night. And one player in particular that I think they're really missing, though, Kerry, is Shane Ryan, the goalkeeper. Like, his kickouts, his distribution, his shot stopping, I think is absolutely outstanding. So, like, do you think Shane Ryan is more of a miss than Sean O'Shea or David Clifford? Or do you think once Clifford and O'Shea get back into the Kerry team for this weekend from the start, that Kerry will start to find their groove again?
I think they'll start to find their groove again. I think, look, going forward, apart from the Monaghan game, they didn't put up much against Donegal. They only hit 1-9 on the day. And then in the first half against Mayo, they looked completely abject going forward, only scoring, I think, was it 3 points or 1-3? No, it was 3 points, wasn't it?
I think it was.
In the first half. Like, that's shocking from a Kerry forward line that is strong. They had Donald O'Sullivan, they had Tony Brosnan, they had Darragh Roach, Darragh Moynihan, and they just look completely out of ideas going forward. And for this game, in the second half, then once David Clifford and Sean O'Shea came on, all of a sudden they were a lot more threatening up front. They put away 1-7 in the second half. So that's a massive improvement when David Clifford and Shawnee came in. In terms of defending, like, Mayo put up 2-14. Like, I know that, and the 2 goals that they got, Shane Ryan doesn't save them either for me. Like, I think Shane Murphy, look, yes, there are questions over his kickouts, but I think the lack of an attacking threat in the first half was something that Kerry need to rectify more, I think.
Interesting take. And do you think Kerry will get back up the horse for this game, or do you think Armagh will come down and shock them?
Yeah, Kerry for me. I think it's way too big of an ask for Armagh to come down to Killarney. No, it's not Killarney, sorry, to Tralee, Austin Stack Park, and to pick up a victory against the Kerry side that, as I said, have turned a corner now. Shawnee's back, David Clifford's back, and that will free up the likes of Paddy Clifford, Darragh Moynihan, maybe Darragh Roach, Donald O'Sullivan to do more, because there's obviously an outright threat there in David Clifford, and he's going to take all the attention. And then the cast, if you like, the other Kerry forwards can do their bit as well. And I think for Armagh, if they went away to Roscommon and didn't win, and if they went away to Mayo, if they didn't beat Mayo at home, I don't see them beating Kerry away. So yeah, Kerry for me.
Yeah, I'd probably say Kerry as well, maybe about 4 or 5 points. I'd say they might pull away from Armagh in the end, and that should be a very interesting game on RT to see the Armagh reaction, more or less. The next game is on at 7 o'clock between Mayo and Tyrone and Castlebar live at TG Carr, another Gabriel TG Carr, Canberras are going down to Castlebar. So a big game for Mayo this after a brilliant performance against Kerry the other night, defensively and offensively. Tyrone, they played well, I'm hearing, against Galway last day, just had a number of wides, but still Tyrone are in a precarious position, winning one game out of a possible three. Mayo unbeaten as well. So does this point towards a Mayo win?
For me, yes. For me, Mayo looked really, really good against Kerry, and they've shown real battling qualities throughout the league campaign so far. Tyrone, what's the big issue for Tyrone is, and I said this question to Aaron, I'm going to say this to you as well. Apart from Darren McCurry, all right, right now, who can you put down and say, well, he's going to get at least 3-4 points in this game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, McShane was world class. He's more kind of hit or miss now. He's either on it or he's not. The likes, Derek Hanavan pops up with a point or two, but McCurry is the main one that gets the scores for Tyrone. They used to get a lot of scores coming from deep, the likes of Niall Sludden, Kieran McGeary, and Peter Hart, and that seems to have dried up quite dramatically as well for Tyrone. Their shooting the last day was atrocious, and they need to rectify this against the Mayo defence that has been really, really good so far. Any chances they get are at a premium, and they need to convert them. They need to get the ball to McCurry as much as they can, and they need other people to stand up. They need a big game out of the likes of Derek Hanavan, Cathal McShane. They need these guys to step up and lead the way for them, because going away to McHale Park, a place where Galway, got a draw, a place where Kerry got beaten pretty comprehensively, like it's a bad omen for Tyrone. And I do believe that Mayo are going to get the win. I believe they're going to win by about 4 points. The rivalry between these two sides, the fact that Tyrone relegated Mayo in 2020, the fact that Tyrone beat them in the final in 2021, the fact that Tyrone beat them in the league last year to stay up, McStay is definitely going to think this is one game I want to right the wrongs of, and I want to win as Mayo boss. So yeah, Mayo for me by about 4 points.
Yeah, and your point about Tyrone, very interesting as well. I'm taking, a record of scores in the league campaign so far, and the only two players to reach 5 points or more so far in the league are Derek Hanavan with 7 points, 4 from play, and then McCurry with 14. That's not good enough. Simply not good enough. 141 overall as well. Kieran McGeary's 1-1, Cathal McShane 3 points, and then you have a plethora of players at 2-1. So not good enough for Tyrone. But as bad as Tyrone are playing right now, and shooting wise, they were pretty abject against Galway. You mentioned the games where Mayo lost against Tyrone. I can add another one as well. Mayo lost to Tyrone in Armagh last year in the league, when Mayo seemed to be on form and Tyrone seemed to be off colour a small bit. So is there an argument that Tyrone have Mayo's number despite form going into this game?
Well, yeah, that point is definitely there, because if you think back to 2020 as well, the game that Tyrone won to relegate Mayo, Mayo had just beaten Galway in the league, and they absolutely hammered them, and everyone was saying, oh wow, Mayo are really on form, and then they lost to Tyrone the next day and got relegated. So I think for Mayo, Tyrone have seemed to have their number when everybody thought Mayo was going to win. The 2021 All-Ireland final, Mayo seemed to have the world behind them, but I think myself and yourself correctly called that Tyrone were going to win. This was a difficult one for Mayo, this one, because they need to beat Tyrone. They need to beat Tyrone to kind of put right these wrongs. This game is significant for their mentality going forward, and you could definitely argue that Tyrone maybe just have the number. Maybe Tyrone go away and get out a 2-point win, 3-point win, 4-point win. But I think for Mayo, they need to win this one. I think they will. I think they're a different side now under Max Day. And, all those victories that we talked about under that Tyrone had over Mayo, they're all over a James Horan Mayo team. And while I think James Horan is he is a very good manager, I think sometimes he can be a bit naive with the way that he sets up defensively. And one thing that we've noticed in this league so far, Mayo's defense has been really good. So this is a different Mayo side than the ones that Tyrone have had their number in the past. So I'm going to go with Mayo to win this one.
I'd probably go Mayo to win as well. And before we leave this game, we mentioned the first episode of the podcast earlier on the year, a questionable decision by McStay to put Conor Loftus at centre back. I watched the game in detail, Mayo Kerry the other night, and I counted the turnovers for Conor Loftus in the first half 4. Does that kind of show that McStay kind of has the right decision when most people have thought, why is Conor Loftus going to centre back? Do you think like it was a bit of a masterstroke from McStay there?
Too early to say masterstroke. For me, I think, look, it's the league, and I know that Mayo have been doing well, but let's see him when he marks Shawnee O'Shea. Let's see him when he marks, Kieran Kilkenny, or like, as Luke said, this will only work if you have someone, in my opinion, that is deployed as a centre half back beside Loftus, and then he can drop back and play the kind of quarterback role, because I don't think he can do both. I don't think he can do like what Ian Corbett say he does for Limerick. I don't think he can do that for Mayo. And I think when it gets to the business end of the championship, and it's the real deal, I don't think he can get away with Loftus at centre half back. It's definitely an interesting experiment. It's an interesting project, but I personally don't think it's going to work if you get to the business end of the year. Could be made to eat my hat on that, but because so far so good. They are undefeated, a win and 2 draws, but I think you can't guarantee success in the championship based off how things look in the league. Just ask the Waterford Hurlers, and so look, it's going well so far, but I'm still not convinced.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that develops in the next few months or so leading into championship. The next game in Division 1 is on Sunday, 12:30 in Letterkenny, O'Donnell Park, Letterkenny. Donegal against Galway on TG Cahir. Now, I mentioned this on Aaron's channel after the live reaction from the Cork and Dublin game. We did a video around 9 o'clock that night on Sunday, and a point that I put up, and Aaron has clipped it, and I think it's rightly so as well. Donegal's fall. Like, when you look at Donegal, I know they beat Kerry the first day, but 2, gut-wrenching losses, especially to Monaghan the last day, where they lost by, 8 points in the end?
8
conceding
points.
120. That was an incredibly bad result for Donegal. And you look, Paddy McBrearty is now out injured for nearly the rest of the year. Michael Murphy retired, Neil McGee retired, new management team doesn't seem to be clicking. Like, is this the fall, finally, of Donegal for the first time, really, since 2010?
Potentially, and I don't want them to fall, because obviously I like them as a team, and I like the more good teams there are, the better Gaelic football is, and I don't want Donegal's level to drop off. But one thing that I noticed, particularly in the Tyrone game, was just how toothless Donegal looked going forward. They looked like they'd absolutely no idea how to get past Tyrone's defence. They have not scored a goal in 3 Allianz League matches. And I'd actually, I don't have the stats in front of me, but can you think of any other team in the league that hasn't scored a goal yet?
I can think of a few. Sligo in Division 4 actually haven't scored a goal, I don't think. Or did they score against Waterford at the week? I'm not sure. Clare,
are they the only team in Division 1 that hasn't got one?
They're the only team in Division 1 as far as I can see. I think they are, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That says it all. Every other Division 1 side has hit the back of the net. Everyone of the Division 1 sides looks to have some relative idea what they're doing going forward. Donegal, even when they had McBrearty on the field, looked toothless, looked like they were completely relying on taking pot shots from out the field, relying on having, a gale force wind at their backs so they can kick it over from the 45-yard line like Jamie Brennan did. They looked like they didn't even threaten goals, really. Like, Jamie Brennan had kind of a flash goal chance when he was coming in along the end line against Monaghan, but that would have been a really hard finish. They haven't had a clear-cut goal scoring. Oh my God, they should have got a goal there. And in terms of how little they threatened. And even the Kerry victory, they only scored 13 points. Like, that's not a tally that is going to win you a lot of Gaelic football matches. So while, yes, they have got a victory, the lack of threat that they have right now going forward alarms me, especially when you consider that Michael Murphy's gone. He's not coming back. Paddy McBrearty's injured, and we don't know when he will be back. Like, I wonder where this other talent has gone. Where's the likes of Oisin Gallen? Where's the likes of Oran McNeilish? Like, players that looked really, really good. Where's the likes of Michael Langan? These players that were pillars of Donegal teams over the last few years, and then absolutely great prospects for the future. They need these guys, and they need to show more threat than they did if they've any chance of winning this game.
Look at their scores as well. I know it's incredibly worrying they haven't scored a goal, and even more worrying, look at the stats. They have no player that has scored 10 points or over in 3 games. That's not good. It isn't simply like Conor O'Donnell scored 8 points for play. Fair play to him. That's an unreal tally in fairness to him. But when you look at the list there, Oisin Gallen scored 1 point for play. Jamie Brennan 3 points for play. Michael Langett 4. Quayla McColgan 3 points, but that was all against Kerry. Like when you look at some of the players, even McBrearty, when he was on the pitch, has scored 2 points in 2 games or so, and one of them from play that long ranger against Kerry. So the signs do not look good for Donegal. I know I can name a few others that are not hitting the lights out, and they're young players coming through. Joel Bradley Walsh, look at him in the Sigerson Cup for Letterkenny IT. He was incredible. But when you look at him for Donegal, he seems a shadow of the player, shadow of himself, really. Darrow Boyle as well, Jack McKelvey, Hugh McFadden, like they're all chipping in with 1 or 2 points, but ultimately that's not good enough.
Yeah, no, and I think when you look at Donegal, like them as a competitive team seemed to completely turn when Cavan beat them in the Ulster final that year that Donegal were expected to mop the floor with Cavan. They haven't looked to me as good as they did since. I remember they played, I think it was Armagh in the Ulster semi-final that year, and they just tore them limb from limb. And I remember thinking like, wow, Donegal looked damn good. And they'd beaten Tyrone in a battle that year. And I remember thinking Donegal were Dublin's biggest rivals for the All-Ireland in 2020, especially when Kerry got knocked out by Cork. I remember thinking Donegal are the team that can stop Dublin. And then they just, that 2020 final against Cavan, it was like they were just waiting for Cavan to panic and fold and do something stupid. And Cavan didn't. Cavan held strong. And for Donegal, they've never really reached that level again in my mind, where I've never looked at them as being All-Ireland contenders again. And now Murphy's gone, McBrearty's injured, and you're talking, they're not getting the same return out of these players that they once did. And the new management team coming in, you're right, something's not clicking, and it's worrying. It really, really is. I don't know where they're going to go from here. I think part of me thinks, look, do Donegal just need to get relegated? I know that might be a bit of a dramatic thing to say, but do they need to just get relegated and try and do what Mayo have done, try and do what Galway have done, go down, breed in, the next generation, breed in the younger lads, and then just try and go from there? I think that's could potentially be a route back.
It's an interesting one there because I know you mentioned Mayo, Galway going down. I think Tyrone did a few times as well. But there is the argument they could end up like, let's say, I know from experience, Cork, even going down to Division 3. Yeah. Look how far teams have sunk down. You look at Laois in Division 4. Derry went to Division 4 as well. Cavan
exactly. Went to Division 4.
Exactly, yeah. And I think Donegal, like, it could go down. Like, look at realistically who's in Division 2 next season. You would think going down with them, probably Monaghan or Tyrone, probably. Coming up for Division 3, then you probably have Westmeath and Cavan. And Westmeath and Cavan, look at their form. They have the beatings of Donegal, I think. You look at Meath and Cork, they've definitely got their act together. So
Kildare, be a hard
Clare, Kildare. This is going to be a hard division for Donegal. But look, it's a discussion for another day. And before we leave this game, I think we're both expecting Galway to win this game after ranting gravy about Donegal. But for Galway, beating Tyrone the last day, win they needed, 3 points out of possible 6. They're definitely safe, aren't they?
Yeah, I can't see Galway going down. I think they're going to win this game, and that will keep their head above water. I don't think they're going to get caught after they win this game. And they can continue to build now. Squad depth is what they need, because like in the All-Ireland final against Kerry, I think that was one of the main things that let them down. And Joy Stephanie stuck his neck out there. I mean, the amount of lads that he cleared out of the Galway panel from when he took over, you think it was only 3 lads that started that All-Ireland final that were involved in the starting 15 against Dublin in the All-Ireland semi-final of 2018. And he was brave with that, because I don't 100% agree with him washing the team out completely like he did, because I think like there were a lot of good lads in that side. The likes of Sean Andy O'Callig, Barry McHugh were all very good that year. This time, they need to start building that momentum back. They need to start building that panel back. Getting Peter Cook and Ian Burke back in the squad is huge, massively important that those 2 lads came back. and they need to keep building. I think the quicker they can get Tom O'Callaghan back and hopefully get some more experience into him is also crucial. I know he's injured, but yeah, definitely getting him back as soon as possible is another main objective, I would say. Yeah, I think they're going to win this one by at least 3 points.
That would put them at 5 points. You would have to think they're safe as houses there to stay in Division 1 for yet another season. The final Division 1 game of the weekend is on Sunday as well at 2:30 between Monaghan and Roscommon in Clonus on the TG Carter app, I'm hearing. So this is an interesting game. Like Monaghan off the back of an excellent win over Tyrone the last day, scoring 120, against Donegal. I'm confused between them two already now. Seeing as I think both will go down. But anyway, Monaghan 120 the other day. Excellent performance from them. They're facing a Roscommon team with 100% record. Like this, actually, I know Monaghan have only won one game, but it was so impressive that this game is now a bit more interesting.
Yeah, hot take. Monaghan are going to win. I've said that. I just think they are absolutely dying, to get a win, Monaghan, to get another win, a back-to-back one, and then to give themselves a chance of staying up in Division 1 again. Monaghan never go down easy, and I know from experience, we went there last year looking for our survival, but Monaghan, when they're fighting for their survival, they'll outfight everyone, and they outfought us last year, knocked Dublin down to Division 2. And Jack McCarran's back, Conor McManus is back, Conor McCarthy looks on fire, like Stephen O'Hanlon is playing brilliant. Monaghan look good right now, and Roscommon 3 out of 3, and they've been, I can't stress this enough, they've been excellent, they have been superb, but they haven't been perfect. They have not been perfect. Against Tyrone, they were 3 points behind, and Darren McCurry had an absolutely stonewall goal chance, and he let it slip. If McCurry had stuck that in the back of the net, Tyrone would have went 6 points up, and I believe Tyrone would have closed the game out from there. Against Galway, they were poor for long periods, and then they just picked it up in the second half. And Galway, in my opinion, could have won that game as well. So while, yes, Roscommon have been brilliant, I'm not taking anything away from the work that Davy Burke has done. He's got them to this level. I think they haven't been perfect. And to say that, because they've beaten these teams, that means they're going to go away to Clonus and beat Monaghan. You can't do that. GA math doesn't add up like that. And you have to look at it and say, well, they pretty much have had 3 home games in the league. I know that they went away to Galway, but they're very familiar with that ground. They've played a match there pretty much every year. So they won that one, and then they won their 2 home games against Armagh and against Tyrone. So very impressive, yes. But coming up against Monaghan now, a side that have been firing going forward, a side that are desperate for their survival. And if you look at the rest of Monaghan's fixtures, they've got Galway and Mayo away, and they've got Tyrone at home. So they're going to eye this one up against Roscommon and say, this is the one where we need to win. This is the one we need to convert, because going away and getting the victory is going to be very hard to do. Same with Galway. So they know this is the one we have to convert. And I think as good as Roscommon have been, I think the fact that they have, secured their survival, I think naturally they might take their foot off the pedal a bit. And I think Monaghan are going to win. I think it could be made to eat those words. Easily could be. But for me, Monaghan take it.
It's an interesting one with Monaghan. A few weeks ago, we would have said, a lot of podcasters, yourself, myself, Aaron, would have said Monaghan are doomed, really. But when you look at the forwards, like Jack McCarran, as you mentioned, coming back into the team, Conor McManus coming back into the team, and when you look at their scoring charts, 5 of their players have above 5 points, along with McCarran, who scored an excellent 7 points the last day against Donegal. You have Sean Jones, Stephen O'Hanlon, Micheál Bannigan, and Conor McCarthy. Like, that's an impressive line, in fairness to Monaghan there. Roscommon have played well, but to be honest with you, I actually agree with you. I think Monaghan could win this game, and it's amazing how fortunes can change within a week.
Oh, big time, because all of a sudden, I did predict that Monaghan would beat Donegal, but the way that they did it was really impressive. They pulled away and left Donegal for dust. And what's key is that game was pretty neck and neck for long periods. And then when it, hit the third quarter, the same period where Roscommon have pulled away in their games, Monaghan pulled away. And that tells me that when Roscommon go for the kill in this game, Monaghan will be right there with them. And I think Monaghan edge it out by 2 points, 3 points. I think Roscommon fight and battle hard. But I think saying that just because they've won 3 games on tight Connacht pitches, that means nothing when it comes to Clonus. Clonus is a big open pitch. It's different. And I think Monaghan win it.
Yeah, it's an interesting take, all right, and I'll probably back you to say Monaghan will win as well. But it should be a very interesting game and very good start for Roscommon, regardless if they lose this weekend. 3 wins from 3 or even 3 wins from 4 if they lose this weekend. Outstanding from them, and nobody would have expected it. We're moving on to Division 2, and we're moving on to a game in Croke Park with all the Seagulls. Dublin against Clare at is it 7 o'clock on Saturday evening. I have to put in that reference. I really did, Seamus. No offense to the Dublin fans there.
No, I agree.
But yeah, it's I want to say it's an interesting game for the viewership of the podcast and all that. But to be honest, I know Clare have brilliant players from Sigurdsson Cup, but you'd have to back Dublin in this game.
Oh yeah, like I don't want to sound arrogant, but it'd be one of those things of, have we really fallen that far in 2 years? Have we gone from winning 6 in a row and being, everyone moaning and saying we should be split into 2 counties to now losing at home to a team that is mid-table in Division 2? Like, that's no disrespect to Clare. They have been magnificent, and Colin Collins has quietly done one of the best jobs in the GAA over the last decade, if not more. He's, had Clare right at the top during his entire reign and has had them playing. And the performance against Roscommon last year was brilliant. But look what Derry did to them in the quarterfinal last year, putting 5 goals past them. If Dublin want to compete with Derry and get out of Division 2, and if they want to compete for the All-Ireland title this year, they have to be beating Clare and have to be beating them well, because it's at home, it's in Croke Park, which is basically Dublin's home pitch. Again, I think Dublin should be playing this game in Parnell Park. I think it would generate a way better atmosphere if they were playing it in Parnell Park, but we're in Croke Park again with the Seagulls, as you said. And it has to be Dublin winning this for me.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange one having a Croke Park, isn't it? Because like Clare fans, I know they're passionate and all that, but with the hurling at the weekend, with the cost of diesel and petrol, with the cost of hotel prices, you wouldn't expect much Clare fans to go up to Croke Park, in all honesty. No,
it's family members and it's couples and family members that are going to show up. It's not going to be too much. Like the price of hotels, if you can even find one, fair play to you, but then the price, obviously that's a debate for a whole other day, but good luck finding somewhere to stay and it doesn't cost you your week's wages.
Exactly so, yeah, and it probably wouldn't be a game for Dublin. Well, I think Dublin will still fill the stadium. Apparently, they were flooding down to Cork now last weekend, so maybe they will flood into Croke Park. We'll never know, but we think Dublin will win this game, all right. But let's focus on Clare a bit, because I think a lot of people are, dusting the cobwebs and stuff and like that, and them against Kildare, I think they were 3 or 4 points up, and they let it slip towards the end. A crucial game for them. And there was a crucial moment in the game. Colin Parkinson put it up on Twitter. Shout out to him. Big shout out. Emma McMahon seemed to have bounced the ball twice, and he got pulled up for it, despite him doing no such thing. So, will that decision come back to bite Clare in the end? Because, Clare, when you look at the next few games, they could be fighting for their lives. I know they've performed well in Division 2, and fair play to Colin Collins, as you said, but could that be a crucial decision in deciding whether Clare stay up or not?
It could be. I do expect them to beat Limerick, and then that will get them onto 4 points. And then if Louth fail to get another victory, then Clare should be safe. But you have to remember as well, that's 6th spot in Division 2. They don't want to end up there. So that's the other thing for Clare. Yes, while they might survive, they might not get what they want out of this league. And yes, that moment there with McMahon, that's crucial. You look at it, because Louth now, for example, Louth are chasing wins left, right, and centre. And the opening day of Division 2, they had Clare. They had them in the bag, and Clare hit 4 points in a row in additional time to steal that victory. So, yeah, for Clare, that could be a key moment.
It could be. It should be interesting to see how Clare develop. Obviously, for this game, Dublin will win at a canter, more or less. The next game is between Kildare against Derry. It's on at 2 o'clock. Ian Newbridge is live on the BBC iPlayer, so fair play to the guys in Northern Ireland for showing this game. Kildare off the back of a crucial win against Clare last weekend, as we just mentioned, coming back from a 4 3-point deficit to in the end win in Ennis. Derry, 3 wins from 3, perfectionate so far, other than probably the low game, where they got a few lucky goals to win it. But Yeah, very, very good performances from Derry, but Kildare at home, it's still a difficult assignment for Derry.
Yeah, because Kildare are such a weird team. Like they're so capable of just getting it right one day and just putting it up to the big teams. And Derry, but you can't ignore just how good Derry looked against Meath. Like that was like, as Aaron said, like if that was a boxing match, that's a TKO. That's the referee stepping in after the first round and being like, all right, no, stop, go home. Like they're absolutely bullying a goal after 48 seconds from Meath and Doherty, and then just Derry dominated the rest of the game. For Kildare, like obviously they should have won, I think, in Croke Park against Dublin. And then they just got torn apart by Cork. Like they've shown that ability to switch off. And the fact that Cork went down to Newbridge and beat Kildare, it shows that, home advantage, it's not really there that year for Kildare. So I think Derry are going to go down, implement their game plan, and come away with the points.
I think people have slipped on Derry a small bit when you think about it, because like I haven't heard some talk about Derry really. Like, for example, leading up to the McKenna Cup final, most of the talk was about Tyrone's resurrection, and then Derry put them to the sword pretty easily. And then in the Meath game, there was a lot of talk about Meath and how they performed, how they beat Clare Cork pretty well with the goals, and then Derry could beat them convincingly. So do you think Derry are kind of a team that have been slipped on in a way?
Maybe people. It might just be a case of we know how good Derry are now. Like we know they're at that level, and people naturally are always going to kind of root for the underdog. I mean, do you remember the atmosphere around Roscommon Tyrone on the opening day of the league? It was, we were building the narrative that Roscommon were going to win, and they did. And we were all like, we knew it, but in some ways, it is kind of your heart wants it to happen. And Derry aren't the underdog anymore. They are a very, very, very good team, and we all know they're Ulster champions, and they're going to go up to Division 1 this year. And the way that they're playing right now, they actually are looking better than Dublin. And I think if they go, I guarantee you, if Dublin had played like we did against Cork, and if we had played like we did against Limerick or Kildare, especially the Kildare game, if we play like that against Derry, we're not going to win. Derry are going to win if we play to that level. We have to up our game to play them. And for Derry in this game, I think they implement their game plan against Kildare. Kildare starts slowly as well. They've started slowly in every one of their games that they've played. I mean, Dublin got the goal from Brian Fenton very quickly. Same thing against Cork. Cork blew them away in the first half. And then, as you mentioned, Clare were ahead of them for long stages. If Derry get ahead of you by 4 or 5 points, it's over.
Exactly, and I think that probably end up that way. I know Kildare, I think they'll put more of a fight in the Cork game, in fairness. Like, that was a big defeat from Kildare,
Yeah.
but I think Derry will easily win this game in the end. It might be still tough in stages of the game, but I still think Derry should ease the victory. The next game is quite interesting. Meath against Louth in Park Talton. I know Meath have been a good form, but a disappointing defeat against Derry, as you mentioned on Saturday night. If that was a boxing match, good luck, over. And Meath were pretty out of it in that particular game. And as for Louth, gritty win over Limerick, like 2 points win. A lot of people thought Louth would win the game, and they did. They performed well in the first two games, despite losing as well against Clare and against Derry. So, yeah, interesting game this.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously a lot of history between these two sides, but yeah, look, one thing that is interesting and it is being slept on is just how good Louth's defense has been. Louth's defense has been absolutely, solid in every game that they've played, and they've dragged every team into a real battle of a game. And one thing that you also need to know is Meath aren't that good at kicking points. You look like they only hit 8 points against Clare. They only hit 7 points against Derry. I know the Cork game they hit, I think it was 15 or 16 points, but that's one game out of three. And the other two, they've hit under 10 points in both games, under 9 points in both games. So, like, they aren't that efficient in terms of point scoring going forward. And Louth, on the other hand, have the likes of Sam Mulroy. They have the likes of Darren McKinnon. So they are really, really strong there going forward, Louth. And if they can drag Meath into a battle where they don't let Meath score goals, that's what's absolutely crucial here. If Meath win, they're going to score at least 3 goals, because that's the way that Meath win games. But if Louth can stop them from scoring goals, I think we've a real game on our hands. I am going for Meath to win. I am going for them to bounce back. But I think it's going to be trickier than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I've seen Aaron actually back to load in the podcast last night. I was tempted before coming on to backload, but considering my TikTok videos earlier on predicting Meath to go down, I'm not predicting against Meath again. So I'm
Did
just
you
going to
get a
say,
lot of abuse?
yeah, yeah, especially from the Meath fans. Yeah, I think they kind of they're looking for my address. I think Seamus at the moment, but yeah, it's a difficult one with Meath fans, a difficult relationship, and yeah, they say I always underestimate them, but yeah, I predicted them to go up in 2020 or yeah 2022, and they didn't. They finished pretty low down the table at that time. So yeah, I do bat Meath. It's just I don't bat them sometimes, and this year I definitely butchered the prediction, but I won't butcher it this time. I think Meath will win the game, but again, I think it'll be closer than people think. It should be a very interesting game in that one. And the last game is on at 3:45 on Sunday. Cork against Limerick in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I know Cork have been, up and down, up and down. Very good performance against Dublin last week. And ordinarily, you'd think Cork being for a bit of a capitulation, but surely not. Surely not against Limerick, a team that have 3 defeats on the board, 0 points. Haven't really put it up to anyone so far yet. So, it should be an easy one for Cork, should it?
It should be. And I'm saying, like, please, Cork, like, don't do this way. What you did in 2020 where you beat Kerry and then lost the tip in the Munster final. Like, don't do that where you look like you're making such progress and then go out and lose. Like, they've had a habit over the last 6-7 years to play to the level of the team that they're playing against. Even the Super 8s game against Dublin, I think it was 2019. Like, that was a brilliant game. And Cork put it up to Dublin that were going for it and about to complete the 5 in a row. Like, Cork all of a sudden turned up. Luke Connolly was fantastic that day. The likes of Mark Collins were all brilliant. And it was really weird to see Cork be so competitive with Dublin when they looked like so fragile against teams in Munster that Dublin would step all over. So it was really interesting to see them bounce up and down the levels like that. They have to win this game just to establish a bit of consistency that was so missing under Ronan McCarthy, that they were brilliant one day and then terrible the next. They need to get that consistency down. Start beating the teams that you should be beating. And I think a massive step in that is to beat this Limerick side and, carry on from the promising signs that they've shown against Kildare and against Dublin.
Exactly. So a brilliant performance against Dublin the other day. The elephant in the room is obviously the wides that needs to be fixed with this Cork team 11 overall in that Dublin game, and that was difficult to see. But what I was thinking after the Dublin game, and your point about Meath scoring goals and stuff like that, and a point that some Meath fan made to one of my friends directly after the Meath and Cork game. Do you think it was just the goals in the Meath and Cork game? Did Cork perform particularly badly in that game, or do you think Cork were still terrible in that game?
No, I thought Cork were grand. Like, I didn't think Cork were that bad. They were just open at the back. And once they lock that down, like, going forward is not a problem for Cork. They've got an abundance of talent there. Brian Hurley, Chris O'Jones, Stephen Sherlock, and now bringing in back in the likes of Rory Dean. Like, they've got stacks up there, stacks of talent, and they just needed to lock up the defence. And now that they've done that, that's why they were so competitive with Dublin. That's why Dublin weren't able to crack them open like they usually are with a lot of defences. So I think Cork are going to bounce back from that defeat to Dublin, carry on the momentum and carry on the progress and pick up a win. Yeah,
exactly. So Cork should win this game pretty easily. I don't know what. Well, Limerick, the list said about them, the better 3 games, 3 losses, and they lost it out last weekend. I think they're going to end on the wooden spoon, 0 points. We're moving on to Division 3, and usually what we do in the podcast is 2 games we'll talk in detail, and 2 games we'll just say a word on who's going to win. The first game we're going to just say a word. It's kind of harsh. It's an Ulster derby, but there is some very good games in Division 3 this weekend, in fairness. Antrim against Fermanagh on in Corrigan Park, 2 o'clock on Saturday. Who do you think will win this?
Fermanagh. Tricky one, though. Definitely a tricky one. Going away to Corrigan Park, always a difficult place to go. But if Fermanagh want to be promoted, they have to win this game. So I think they will.
Yeah, I think so. Fermanagh as well. They're doing very well up front, even without Conor Love, who was doing so well in the club championship. Even Sean Quigley popping up with a late goal the last day against Down. So very good performance from them, and they'll probably beat Antrim at the weekend as well, in my opinion. Speaking of Down, they're the next game against Westmeath, 6 o'clock in Park Esler on Saturday evening. Like, it's crucial for Down here after the Fermanagh loss that they have to bounce back from this one. And both teams are on 4 points. So you feel the winners of this have definitely 1 foot nearly in Division 2.
Yeah, and for that reason, I think Westmeath are going to win it. I think Down haven't impressed me as much as I thought I would be impressed by them. I thought, look, they looked like they were there for the taking against Antrim, and they looked a bit shaky against Tipperary at stages as well. Like, look at Tipperary now, like, foot of the table with Longford. Yeah, I do think that this victory is Westmeath's, because if Westmeath want to play in the All-Ireland Championship, which they are going to have, having won the Tailteann Cup, they have to be beating teams like down if they want to compete with teams in the upper echelons of Division 2 and Division 1. So I think they're going to put everything behind this to get this victory and take it, yeah. But I think I wouldn't be too surprised if Down turn around and pull it off. But that would be certainly a statement result for Down if they beat Westmeath pretty handy. That would be one that would let me know that they're on the right track under Laverty. But I think Westmeath are more set, and I'm going for them to nick a win, actually, 1 or 2 points.
It's a tough one. It's a really tough one to predict. I'd probably go Westmeath just to be safe as well. Like, Down, pretty tough loss against Fermanagh the last day, and you'd expect that terrible form to continue into the last 3 games. Like, let's not forget the first 2 games against Tip and Antrim, they were winning the score both. So, it's maybe a bit overrated for Down, but we'll see in the next few weeks. And another game we're going to talk a bit about in detail, Offaly against Cavan, 2 o'clock in Tullamore on Sunday. Like, this is an interesting game as well. I know Cavan have 3 wins from 3. They're doing so well, but Offaly 2 wins themselves. So, like, you'd have to feel, though, Offaly have to win this game to still be in contention for promotion.
Yeah, they have to. It's definitely a very tricky game for Cavan going away to O'Connell Park. And, an Offaly side that are riding high. I know that they were beaten there last week, but massively important for them that they get this victory, Offaly, to, put themselves right up there with the chasing pack. And if Cavan lose, they're in with the pack, and that makes it even more interesting. So I want to say Offaly, but I am saying Cavan, because Cavan so far have just looked like they're smooth. They've got it right. I'm going with them to have a managed victory.
Yeah, I'd probably say Cavan as well to continue their brilliant form. And the last game, Longford against Tipperary. This, I know we're saying only a word on this game, but it's such a crucial game. The losers of this, you said it on JFan TV last night, are Down. It's on in Glen Brothers Pierce Park at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Who do you think will win it in the end?
Longford, for me. If you look at Tipperary's team, I said this on Aaron's thing, that myself and Luke make this team every year where we pick who would we start for each county if they had everybody. So if everybody came back from AFL, if everybody that was playing club championship declared that they were available for their county, we picked a Tipperary best 15. Only 3 players are playing for Tipperary now that we had in our team. The likes of Conor Sweeney, Michael Quinlivan, Jason Lonergan, Colin O'Riordan, Josh Keane, all unavailable. Sean O'Connor for different reasons. And that's, you can't compete with that. You can't keep coming back. You can't keep finding these gems. And that's what's happened with Tipperary. They can't keep finding replacements for these guys. And I think they're going down this year. But again, I'm not confident in Longford at all, because they've been beaten out the gate in their 3 games. They haven't looked competitive in any of them. They have played tough for opposition, I would say. So that's why I'm going with them to get the win. They did win the O'Byrne Cup, and that is basically the equivalent of finding a medal in a cereal box now at this stage. It's not really an achievement to win the O'Byrne Cup, especially when the team that you played in the final got through with a walkover. I am going Longford to win this one.
It's weird with Longford. Like, they always find their form towards the end of the league when the chips are down. So I'd actually back Longford to win this game as well. A Tip look like they're on the road back to Division 4. The final division is Division 4, and the one game we're going to talk about in detail is Laois against Wicklow on at 7 o'clock in Portlaoise on Saturday evening. Interesting game. Like, Laois, 3 wins from 3. Wicklow got their first win under the Oisin McConville era last weekend. So it's a Leinster derby somewhat in this game. So do you think Wicklow will put it up to Laois?
I think they will, but it won't be enough. I think Laois take it. They've looked really, really good. And I know GA math doesn't add up, and I've said it myself, but this is a Laois side that went away to Markovich Park and won by 6 points. So for me, they beat Wicklow. Yeah, probably so. I think Laois will
win this game as well. It's a kind of a quiet week in Division 4 when you think about it. There's not really any exciting games to look forward to, including this one, Waterford against Wexford, 7 o'clock in Field on Saturday evening. I think I know who you're going to choose here. It's weekly at this point.
Yeah, Wexford.
Yeah. So, like, why are we even predicting Waterford games? Like, no disrespect to Waterford now, but they're pretty even out of their depth in Division 4 now. And
well, considering like last year, they drew at Tipperary in the opening game, and that was Effie Fitzgerald's first game as Waterford boss, and it was like, oh, maybe. And then they lose to London, and then they slip into losing the rest of their games. Like, so, I mean, if they go 8 defeats in 8 games, that is rock bottom.
It is, and it's on Field, by the way. It's Carrick and Noor, so it probably just shows like they're putting it in the most obscure grounds to not show the Waterford footballers. In Ruislip at 1 o'clock on Sunday, it's London against Sligo. Tricky game for Sligo, but you'd expect Sligo to come away with the win.
Yeah, I think it's a sticky one. Playing London is always a tough one. They always seem to drag every team that they're playing into a real battle. Like, I can't remember the last time that London were beaten by more than 6 points. Like, they drag everyone into a dogfight against them. But I think Sligo win by 2 points. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think so as well. The last game, Leitrim against Carlow on at 2 o'clock in Carrick on Shannon. Like, Carlow pick you up a bit of form at the start, then crash back down to earth after the loss against Leitrim, losing last weekend against Wexford. You'd have to expect at home Leitrim will bounce back.
Agreed. Yeah, I think Leitrim take it. I think they're chasing promotion, and especially after the slip up last week against Wexford, they can't afford another bad day at the office. So yeah, Leitrim for me.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll probably back Leitrim as well. And in the next video of the podcast, we're going to discuss the hurling games, and Seamus is going to stay on for that. So until the next video, we'll see you then.